What?
Medieval woman.
I know.
How is that not the fucking...
I know. Instead, it's evil woman.
That's so much stupider.
Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the Doctor himself.
Hello.
Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC comics and movies and TV shows and games and etc.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's, I
Keep going.
and comics and movies and games.
Say it again.
All while fielding questions from listeners like you. Speaking of listeners like you, we've got a review.
Ooh, let's have it.
My wife gave us a review.
Your wife.
My wife gave us a 5-star review on iTunes.
Does it say, like, I'm in the other room, shut up, you're too loud?
Not far from that. With the subject of letting the magic happen.
Ooh.
It's the only magic that happens in this house is not in this podcast. And even that is suspect.
That's why we close the door.
Exactly. She goes on to say, I am privileged enough to enjoy this podcast from the comfort of my own home. Each week, 3, well, sometimes 2, well, now always 2, men enter a warm, tiny room to create a high-quality podcast magic with each other. It's not the only kind of magic we create with each other. I've documented the ups, downs, and Richard's heavy wine consumption in my new documentary, Dr. DC Behind the Magic.
I'm picturing it like a behind the music, like a VH1 thing. Where
Yeah, my heavy drug.
they were
addiction.
riding high until Richard's wine consumption tanked the whole enterprise.
Oh, there's a note too that apparently she requested but was denied Dea cheesecake for her review. She did say that she wouldn't do the review unless I gave her cheesecake.
But Daya cheesecake?
Dea.
Is it Daya?
Yeah.
That's still disgusting.
It's so good.
It's not.
You haven't had it. You can't say.
I've had Daya.
You haven't Dea cheesecake.
Yeah, but it's made of a thing I already find disgusting.
Yeah, but like, okay, what have you had from it?
I've had it. What do you mean had from it?
Well, it's a company that has multiple products.
Oh, it's a brand name?
Yeah.
I just thought it was a type of
No. So there's
I've had cheese.
Yeah, but was
gross.
it shredded? Was it like the slices? Was it
Shredded, I guess.
Yeah, the shredded's weak. The what's good is
Shouldn't be different.
No.
It should just be making cheese and then shredding it.
No, it's way different depending on the
Okay.
product, right?
Sure.
But the yogurt's delicious.
Yeah.
And the cheesecake is literally basically just cheesecake.
I'd rather eat like food.
I'm gonna make you eat this. You're gonna like it.
This won't be like the pickled eggs thing, which I do like.
Ooh, I think we have a segment
The show's just like
called "Eat It." Speaking of magic on the show,
so aggressive.
eat it.
So aggressive.
Now onto the news.
All right, let's do it.
Alan Moore's The Anatomy Lesson confirmed for Swamp Thing TV series. So what does that mean?
So the Anatomy Lesson is like probably like the most famous story from Alan Moore's run on Swamp Thing.
What's it about?
That's the issue where it's revealed that Swamp Thing is not.
Oh, but he's just plants?
That he's not Alec Holland turned into a Swamp Thing. That issue revealed that Swamp Thing is just a mass of plants that believes itself to have at one time been Alec Holland. That was like the big turning point in Alan Moore's run. It completely changed like the status quo of the character. Because then he was no longer like a person at all. Like he had never existed. Gave him this sort of crazy identity crisis.
Because yeah, like but he like from what I've read, he does have like they've made like plant versions of all the organs inside of him too.
Yeah.
Like so, it's like he's a human, but it's all superfluous. It's just to like
it's just plants that believe they're Alec Holland.
So they're trying to form him as what a human is.
Yeah, and I think like a much later thing was that like Alec Holland was meant to be like actually transformed into Swamp Thing. He was meant to become the Avatar of the Green, but he died too early. They couldn't use his body. They had to make do and it became this whole sort of thing. But the fact that they're using that for the TV series means that they're leaning heavily probably on that Alan Moore run anyway.
How do you so I mean that's probably going to be at least the sort of like the origins, I guess.
Well, I mean, like you'll probably still see Alec Holland. You'll probably still see the biorestorative formula. You'll see him, die and things like that.
But you'll probably later find out that.
I guess not too much later if we're already finding out. Like,
yeah,
I don't think it's a thing they're going to keep.
It's probably in the intro.
It's not going to be like a twist, but maybe, like a couple of episodes in or something, he'll be like, oh, wait a minute.
My name is Swamp Thing, and I'm made of plants.
That's precisely how he'll say it. It'll be...
It's like the Flash intro. Sorry, I've been...
Oh, I see. You're trying to do the Flash intro. My name is Alec Holland. I'm the plantiest man alive. I was working on a biorestorative formula.
Yeah, so it's
I like it.
Yeah, I figured that's how it worked.
I hope they use the old cartoon theme song though.
Swamp Thing. You make my heart sing. You make everything plenty.
I think it's creepy.
Oh, is that
or spooky? Creepy or spooky? You make everything spooky.
Yeah, it's probably
Swamp Thing.
Jesus,
such a blatant ripoff.
Oh my god. All right, Dan Jurgens thinks Guy Gardner needs his own series again.
Yeah, I mean, he could think that.
What are your thoughts on this?
Fuck Guy Gardner. You know my thoughts on this. His point is that there are lots of Green Lanterns, and some of them probably deserve some time in the spotlight.
Isn't Guy Gardner, like, hated?
The worst? Yeah.
Like, hated a lot, though?
I mean, by me specifically.
But like,
lots of people do like Guy Gardner because he's supposed to be the guy you love to hate.
Right? I can come up with anything with this ring. I'm going to make a baseball bat.
Yeah, it's like, punches.
I look at my sweet leather jacket.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Jurgens also says characters like Kilowog would deserve their own story or things like that too. So his point was a little bit broader that like there are so many Green Lanterns it would be interesting to give someone else the spotlight other than Hal or John or even Kyle probably gets it more than Guy does. But yeah, I mean, obviously on a personal level, I completely disagree. Guy Gardner he's fine, like off to the side. I didn't mind when he was the lead on Red Lanterns. I thought that was kind of a neat story. I think it suited him.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not that interested really in Guy Gardner. Again, that's just me. There's probably someone out there that's like, oh my God, no, give me a Guy Gardner solo book. But
I think Dan's just jerking off.
Nice.
That's what
He's jerkins off.
He's jerkins off. All right.
That's probably the first time that joke's been made.
How could it not have been the first time? I don't see how anybody else is that intelligent to come up with that sort of like high quality, the high bar of comedy that the Dr. DC podcast. That's why you come here.
You're the only person that would have discovered that it sounds like the words jerking off, but also like a brand of moisturizer, one that you use to jerk off. Yeah. See? Or jerks off.
You know what makes jokes funnier? Explaining them.
You're welcome.
Aquaman novel will explore Arthur Curry's teen years.
So this novel I think is actually set in the DCEU. It's meant to...
Oh, that's not fish food. Oh no.
I think this is meant to be like the movie Aquaman. Like it'll fill in, I guess, some time that you don't see in the movie.
Yeah.
But I do think it's meant to be tied to that, so it's
So it's in support of this.
I guess it's meant to tie in. It would be like teenage Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Basically, is the premise of this novel. I imagine Vulko has something to do with it. We even know from the trailer, we've seen some shots of like Vulko kind of training and mentoring Arthur. So I would be surprised if this book didn't strongly feature that character. But I don't know too much about it other than it's a novel and he's meant to be a teenager and it's meant to be set in the DCEU.
No, this really makes my swimming a little bit slower. Impedes the...
No, why would it impede anything? It'd be like having a dorsal fin.
Oh, come on, Dad! I want to go to the codfish ball. At the codfish ball. Any other good teen Aquaman jokes?
Jesus Christ!
Oh, look at the fins on her.
Sorry. So in this one, he's going through puberty, but he's not hanging out with any Atlanteans. Like, he's not hanging out with any other humanoid. He's just, like, looking at fish and being like, oh, yeah.
Well, he hasn't gone down there yet. He's living on his life on Earth, so.
Yeah, but he probably knows they exist.
No, he's just jerking off into the ocean.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the curves on her.
Just jerking off to urchins and shit like that, yeah. Weird. You didn't write this, did you?
You ever put a jellyfish in the microwave? Oh, man.
What the fuck? What a weird pitch. What a bizarre pitch.
Like American Pie, but with Aquaman?
Yeah. I still think it's weird, though, that you're not throwing any other Atlanteans in there. Your version of this is just Aquaman, like, being...
It's like Smallville, but with
exploring
Aquaman.
His sexuality with just like fish.
Yeah.
Like legit fish.
Oh man, did I make her wet? Oh.
Jesus Christ. You're a fucking maniac.
Oh, I mean, I've heard of small and fishy, but oh, jeez.
No. No.
Oh, DC Universe Doom Patrol cast Alan Tudyk as Mr. Nobody.
Is it just me or is Alan Tudyk is
everything?
like a fucking heyday right now?
You know what? Making Con Man is probably the best thing he ever did. I think it brought him back into the consciousness and
he's great.
Made him relevant. Did you watch Con Man?
No. But
It's a great show.
In general, he's great. I really like Alan Tudyk in
Firefly.
Well, yeah, obviously, but in Rogue One,
yeah. Oh yes,
because he's K2SO.
Yeah, K2SO.
I like him in there. But yeah, so he's going to be playing a character called Mr. Nobody, which is a Doom Patrol villain. And this character has the ability to I think he absorbs other people's sanity, but then it makes him insane. And he always shows up in the comics. He kind of looks like two-dimensional, like almost like pop art.
Oh, really?
So I don't know how they'll make him show up, like if he'll be like a CGI character or what. But yeah, Mr. Nobody is a Doom Patrol villain, and yeah, we know he's going to show up. We've already seen some set photos of Doom Patrol.
That's right.
Negative Man looks great. Robot Man looks awesome. It's like an actual physical suit that I imagine they'll do some post-production on to just kind of animate or something like that. We've seen Crazy Jane. Yeah, it's pretty exciting, actually. I'm looking forward to it.
I also love Alan Tudyk as like a villain. Like I think that on Dirks Gently.
Oh yeah, he's so good in that.
Yeah. Super good.
Because in general, I actually found that second season pretty weak, but I loved him.
He was so good in it, right?
He was terrific. Yeah.
I think he's great as a villain, and that makes me really excited to see him as that. Like, I'm glad that he's getting the recognition that he deserves.
But Mr. Nobody in the comics, he's a member of the Brotherhood of Evil, which is like a Doom Patrol. Like that's the villain group that the Doom Patrol fights. And that group includes like the Brain, Monsieur Mala, and other characters like that. So maybe having Mr. Nobody in there is a hint that we'll get some more actual Brotherhood of Evil characters. I don't know like who the big bad is meant to be, but I'm really excited for that show. I mean, like, I'm going to watch Titans, at least for the first couple of episodes, see how it goes. I'm definitely going to watch Swamp Thing. But Doom Patrol, I'm just so curious. Like,
I mean, the casting has been great.
And I want them to go weird with it, because that's what Doom Patrol does well. That's where that series kind of lives. But I'm curious how you do that on TV, to go to that like super kind of esoteric place. Like there are multiple stories in Doom Patrol that literally deal with their existence as like works of fiction. Like,
Really?
yeah, like it's so self-referential, and that I'd be really interested to see how that translates from comic book to television. Like such a different medium. Kind of hope that they can keep that sort of weirdness about it.
I'm super stoked. I mean, it's coming, I think, like in next year.
I would think if they've only just started working on it.
But I mean, we'll have to do a Doom Patrol episode at some point in there to get everybody hyped for it.
Oh, totally.
But because that's something that's I mean, we've talked a lot about it, but it's definitely a group that I don't know a ton about. So that's
I think you can tell people that maybe like aren't super into superhero comics but are into like weird shit by whether or not they've read Doom Patrol. I think
yeah.
I know Stratus, who was just on our previous couple of episodes, has started reading Doom Patrol, Gerard Way's Doom Patrol run, and really loves it. I know Kyle Clark is like super into the Doom Patrol and stuff like that. I think you can tell people that are like maybe have a slightly more like literary taste.
Yeah.
Like that's a comic book a lot of those people like, because it's I not even necessarily more intelligent, but more innovative or creative. It's willing to go to kind of stranger narrative or fictional places than your standard superhero comic.
I'm excited to see. I'm very curious to see what kind of tone it's going to get. I can't remember what network it's going through.
It's going to be DC Universe.
So I mean, they could really be anything.
It's like, spinning out of Titans. Like there's I think episode 8 or 9 of Titans is called the Doom Patrol.
So tonally it'll probably be very similar to it.
They should at least kind of fit together, even if it's not identical.
Yeah, but I think that like visually it'll probably look very, very similar.
Yeah.
So at least we have that to kind of go off of. But I'm very, very curious about it. I think like I'm more excited for this than I am for Titans.
I think I am too.
Which is weird because we've seen a lot more from Titans, and maybe that's where the benefit of the doubt is coming from. Is that we're just like,
like I said,
this could be anything, right?
I'm still gonna watch Titans.
I will too, and I like where they're coming from. Like I've been seeing, there's been lots of stuff that's been coming out last week about it, and you're understanding that it's like basically right when Robin leaves Batman.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, there's a lot to go from there, and
fuck Batman.
Yeah. Clearly has But that fuck Batman, it felt really cool the first time I heard it, and now it kind of feels like I hate you, Mom. Like,
do you know what? When we said this when that trailer came out, like that doesn't bother me.
You're not even my real dad.
Everyone else was like, "Oh my god, this would never happen." Like that doesn't bother me. Do you know what TV like word fuck really like took me out of it? Is I just watched all of Star Trek Discovery. And there's one episode that uses the word fuck twice. And I was like, oh.
I was like, on CBS, but I guess it's on their
And it's just
online.
like, this is really fucking cool. And then you're like, it is really fucking cool. And it's the only time. It's not like used in every episode. It's not used ever again with the mounting sort of drama or whatever. It's used so flippantly and only in one episode. And I was like, why? Why is that there?
That did take me out of it a little bit.
That took me out of it. And like, fuck Batman is like that for where that character is meant to be and what that relationship is meant to be. That makes a ton of sense. It would be weird if he didn't talk like that. Yeah. That makes a ton of sense. The Discovery one, I was like, oh, that's okay.
Yeah. God, we need a Star Trek podcast. Next piece of news.
We need more to do.
I know. Starman returns in Justice League.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can't believe you got the rights to that song.
What song? Mikus.
Nice.
Mikus.
What?
I don't know.
Are you having a stroke?
I sure am having a stroke.
So yeah,
I'm jerking off.
Death stroke. Jerking off.
Jerkins
off. Your death stroke. Yeah, Scott Snyder has.
Scott Snyder. I haven't got to say that name in a while.
Has said that. Starman. Different versions of Starman, I think, are going to be showing up. I think that's what's implied because he almost kind of named. I think what is it, Will Payton or Will Paxton, whoever the 6th Starman is. There's like
game over, man.
There's like 8 Starmen. Like it's a long lineage. It's a legacy title. But we know for a fact Ted Knight is going to show back up. He's the original Starman.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because a lot of the Justice Society members have been creeping back up again. We've talked about Jay Garrick and Alan Scott, the return of Johnny Thunder and Dr. Fate and all of these kind of characters. Like Kent Nelson is back, all sorts of stuff like that. So Ted Knight showing up, that makes sense. I'd be interested to see one of the more cosmic Starmen. I'd also be interested to see Jack Knight, who was the 90s Starman.
So what's the like general sort of origin of Starman?
So Starman, Ted Knight, the Golden Age Starman, he has this cosmic rod that basically like takes in energy and redirects it. He can use it to shoot beams. He uses it to fly, and things like that. That rod becomes sort of like the thing passed on. You know, Jack Knight Starman has the cosmic rod. It ends up with Stargirl. Ends up with that. But yeah, he's a member of the Justice Society, like the Ted Knight, the original one. He's a member of the Justice Society. He might have been the chair for a bit. He kind of dies somewhat tragically, but mostly heroically in the Jack Knight Starman series. Yeah, he's a cool character. He's like an original superhero. He's like one of the first. But then there are these other like cosmic inheritors of the Starman legacy. One of them, his name is Tom Kellor, and he's part of the Legion of Superheroes. He's like a far future Starman. There's one called Will Payton or Will Paxton. Yeah, he's like the 6th Starman, and he has more kind of like cosmically based powers. I don't think he has the cosmic rod.
Is there any crossovers with like Green Lantern?
Like a little bit, yeah, because they're sort of out there, but nothing like... They're not like super tied together or anything. Just they would be people that would bump into each other, right?
So what's his return looking like?
I'm not sure yet. Scott Snyder hasn't said very much, but given like how cosmic things are, I mean, he said Ted Knight. I wouldn't be surprised though to see one of those other Starmen, Tom Kellor or Will Payton, show up. Because so much of what's been happening involves the Source Wall, involves the invisible spectrum, involves the Still Force, these real kind of big cosmic ideas. I think it would be weird if they weren't in some way tied to those types of Starmen.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Is there a specific one that you would love to see more?
Ted Knight, really. Ted
Knight, yeah.
Like I'm. It's not like I was around when his heyday was, but I really like that character. I started liking him by reading some of the Jack Knight Starman, because that's his father.
Oh, okay.
Jack Knight is Ted Knight's son, but I like him. He's not like the biggest or most popular character or the most powerful or anything. Yeah. He's just like a hero. He's like one of the team, and there's something kind of interesting about that. He's not like hyper powerful like Dr. Fate or super righteous like Alan Scott.
He's a cog in the machine.
He's a hard worker. He's got heart and all that kind of stuff. I see him in the same sort of vein as like Dr. Midnight or like some of those other Justice Society members, Sandman, things like yeah, exactly. So I'm excited to see him back as part of that sort of big resurgence of the Justice Society.
That's awesome. I'm stoked for that. Now this week's theme. The polls have been closed. And this was the winner.
We held the Dr. DC tournament of pandering so that I wouldn't just have to randomly come up with an idea for an episode.
Yes.
I just put out a call and said, if we did another character specific episode, who would you want to see? I got like 32 responses, which is perfect for bracket making.
Yeah.
And then, we held the tournament on Twitter. Lots of votes were cast. Like,
a lot. Yeah,
I think by the end of it, like,
I think people were just voting because it was cool.
Hundreds and hundreds of votes cast. But we ended up with a single winner, and it was Zatanna Zatara.
I do love that it was between Zatanna and
Commissioner Gordon. There were so many characters that I thought were going to make it further than they did.
Yeah.
I thought the Metal Men were going to make it further than they did. I thought, what was one of the? I thought Detective Chimp.
That was my wife's.
Although Detective Chimp did all right.
My wife thought, well, I wanted.
I thought Mr. Terrific would make it further. I thought, yeah, there were a few. Commissioner Gordon was a weird one. I was not.
I'll say that I voted for Commissioner Gordon for sure.
It just surprised. I mean, like, I like Commissioner Gordon, but like, of all of the characters that were in that list, there were some neat ones. There was like Blue Beetle and like,
which I think got pretty far.
Red Tornado got like no votes. So I was like, no one gives a shit about Red Tornado.
It's interesting though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just kind of curious.
So were you surprised that Zatanna won?
No, I actually wasn't. Even from the beginning, I was like, Zatanna has a strong chance of winning. She's such a fan favorite. She's a major DC character.
Yeah.
And she's like one of like the preeminent magic users of DC, right? So even like categorically, she makes more sense than other magic users or whatever. But people really like Zatanna, so that didn't surprise me. I was glad that she made it through. There were a couple of rounds where actually she started like way down, and I was like, "Oh shit, Zatanna's like Detective Chimp's gonna beat Zatanna," and then she like surged back. So,
how would you feel about a Zatanna movie? What do you think the possibilities of that happening are?
I think the possibilities are low, but I would be 100% in.
I mean,
I would love.
Technically, there's been Zatanna movies. There's been a few.
I know what you're talking about. There's. Yeah, that was the Fear of Puppets.
Yes.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That's
like a fan film, right?
Yeah, there's Zatanna Fear of Puppets, Zatanna Mistress of Magic, and Zatanna Dark Universe.
Yeah. I would be interested in a proper like
this Dark Universe one is just like some fan art, but it puts Alison Brie as Zatanna.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. I could see it.
I mean, there's a part of me that definitely would love to see that happen.
Yeah. Zatanna's a great character. I would love to see a movie version of her. I think that's unlikely. It's more likely you'd see her as part of a team like Justice League Dark if that ever gets off the ground.
Yeah.
I think that's probably more likely than a solo one. Or maybe, she shows up in like Birds of Prey or like some other format, but I'd be totally in for a solo movie.
Absolutely. Well, so what's your experience with Zatanna, I guess, before we get going? Like, what stories do you like? And
well, we've known each other a long time.
it's to 08, something like that we met for the first time.
I think the first time I ever like came across the character was actually I have an issue of like old Justice League. I think I have the issue. It's a like pretty iconic cover where she like zaps this like hat on the table and all these pieces of paper go flying and Superman's like, no one turns down membership in the Justice League. It's like from the 60s or 70s or something like that. It's a pretty iconic cover, but I have that. It's part of like the comics I got from my dad. I think that's like a very early exposure to Zatanna that I got. She had the different costume back then where it wasn't like the tux. It was more, she looked more sorceressy.
Yes.
It was kind of like that blue kind of flowy cape thing. She had like a red jewel and stuff like that.
More of like the apprentice to the magician than...
Yeah, I mean, she looked more like if you were just dressing up as a sorceress, that would look like, right? But then I think after that, it would be, she made appearances in either I know she definitely appeared in the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, or just Justice League. There's an episode where Wonder Woman gets turned into a pig by Circe, and Batman and Zatanna are trying to like, track her down to turn her back. B'wana Beast helps them out. But ultimately, like, that's the episode where you find out that Batman's in love with Wonder Woman.
Really?
Because he, like, Circe won't break the spell, and Batman says, like, what do I have to give you? And she says, like, I need something that, like, you can never get back once you give it up. And he basically, like, that just means he has to give up his kind of heart, right? So he ends up, like, singing this, like, sad jazz song, and then Circe's like, yep, you can have her back. But it's like, it cuts away to commercial. When it cuts back, it's just Batman just going, am I blue?
Oh my God.
Am I blue?
Batman's the Riker of the Justice League.
Yeah, he's not playing trombone, though.
He's not playing his bone.
Ain't these tears in my eyes telling you?
Oh my God.
Have you never seen that?
No.
You should pull it up.
I can't.
We can edit this down, but you should totally pull it up and watch it.
Or is it just like...
Just type in like Batman singing. You should be able to find it.
Oh my God. What? What? Wait, I don't... But... I don't even know what to say. Is this Kevin Conroy singing?
It is.
Do you think Kevin Conroy is just like, it'd be awesome if I could sing in an episode?
Maybe.
Because it doesn't even sound like Batman anymore. Like, it just sounds like Kevin Conroy singing.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's like, this voice is gone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And then it's just like, so now I'm back to talking
after
like
he finishes singing this song, he
Oh
says
my
he
God.
learned how to sing because he was staking out this jazz club for a while as Batman.
Yeah, yeah,
some
I'm
other
sure.
mission. But so I remember that episode obviously because Batman singing kind of sticks with you.
This reminds me of the Parks and Rec episode when they find out that Ron Swanson like plays saxophone.
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember that and that idea of, and I think I know that's not technically about Zatanna, but that episode and everything kind of stuck with me.
Yeah, no shit. I can't believe I don't remember that. It must have just slipped by me.
And then
but-
I think the next time I really, like saw a lot of Zatanna was like Identity Crisis, where it's revealed that she had been mind wiping like villains and things like that, which was, that's kind of a dark chapter for that character. It's all about sort of betrayal of the principles of the Justice League and secrets and all that kind of stuff. And it fractures her relationship with Batman for a bit there. I think that's maybe the next time I would have really come across the character. And that's relatively modern times. Like Identity Crisis is what, like 2004 or 2005?
Jeez.
So, yeah. Since then, you go back and you read other things, or I've read Justice League Dark and different stuff.
Is there any
that,
story that you would like suggest for anybody like who wants to get into Zatanna?
Crisis of Conscience is a tie-in / follow-up to Identity Crisis that takes place in the pages of Justice League of America, or JLA, or whatever it was called at the time. And that one's really good. There's actually Swamp Thing, I can't remember precisely what issue the arc starts, but it culminates in Swamp Thing 50. Is a great arc. It happens right around Crisis on Infinite Earths, but basically all of the magic users have to fend off the Great Darkness. So you see all sorts of characters like Zatanna and her father, Giovanni Zatara. You see John Constantine. You see Swamp Thing, Phantom Stranger, Etrigan the Demon, Sargon the Sorcerer. All sorts of characters in that one too. That's a neat little story. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Have I got that stuck in your head now?
Yeah, a little bit.
Am I blue?
It's not even like it's...
I think we have an ad for today. I think it's Jazz Batman.
Great legs grew.
Save it.
Okay. Let's go to the questions.
Let's do it.
Heading over to Facebook.
Going to the face and the book. Going to the Facebook.
You know, it's really funny. I've been asking everybody for the fucking drops because I'm like, I don't want to do this. Well, on every the episodes I have.
I think we only just asked for it on an episode that hasn't come out yet.
No, I think I asked about it I asked about it enough that I've been now getting people messaging me going like, no, I don't do it. Like, we like you doing it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's very funny.
I've had two people now separately go to me and being like, I know you're asking for these, but like, I think that yours are really good.
Keep them lo-fi.
Yeah. I like the drops when they were just you and a microphone.
Yeah, stay true, man. Don't sell out.
Yeah. Just wait till I start singing them all. Going to Facebook. Well,
here's a question
from Matthew Poulton. Matt says, given how infrequently Zatanna's actually had starring roles, in quotations, mostly been seen as a side character or cameo in both the comics and cartoons for quite a long time, What do you think contributes to her becoming a fan favorite? Which is a great question, because I'm like, why does everybody like her so much?
Yeah, it is a good question. Yeah, I mean, she's only had her own title like a couple of times, and I think they were both relatively short runs. So yeah, I mean, she's always been like a supporting character or a team character or something like that. Even in Justice League Dark, where she was leading the team, you still have to balance then page space with all the other characters. Swamp Thing and Deadman and all of them. Yeah, if I had to guess, I would say part of what makes Zatanna so interesting is that she is... I mean, she's not only like supremely powerful, she's also like very human still. I mean, even a character like Wonder Woman, who's known for her compassion and her empathy and for trying to connect with people and things like that, at the end of the day, she's still like a demigod, right? Like she's separate. She's other. Zatanna technically is a member of the Homo Magi, like a race of magicians, but she doesn't come across as different. Like she was a kid and she grew up and she had, you know, she's
for all intents and purposes is a human.
She still like has a secret quote unquote identity. I mean, her name is Zatanna, but she performs as like a stage magician as well. Like she's good at like prestidigitation and all that, like that kind of stuff. So she has like a public persona and, you know, she carries the weight of her immense power and she has tragedy, but she's not defined by it. She's closer to someone like a Dick Grayson or whatever, who's learned to live with it and still enjoy themselves, enjoy life, pursue happiness, other things like that. I think that's, and then to be all of that and then also a female character. I think, especially because she's been around for so long, between her and Black Canary and Wonder Woman, I think you get three like really, really great examples of female characters that are strong and compassionate and interesting and layered. And certainly in the era when she was first showing up, that was probably rarer to find. So she's had a long time to kind of build up a fan base, right?
Oh, definitely.
But I think she does stand out as one of the more interesting, you know, like personalities out there. But she's not just grim, right? Like I'm okay with Batman being grim, but not everyone has to be, right? And I like that she's a character that is still like, she likes to perform. That's her like public persona as a stage, like she's very much like Dick Grayson in that way, right? I think there's something kind of fun about that. It's a character you can have a good time with. And then when you open up the possibilities that she's magical, she can make anything happen, then you can really have fun with that concept, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I think that, it's definitely, instead of just making a magic character, you're making a character that like is a magician. And I think that's like,
and the way her magic works, which we'll talk about more, is that she conjures things by speaking backwards. And I think that's a really smart device in comics.
So if you're wondering why this episode's called
hang on, I can do it. Arataz, Annataz?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why.
Zatanna, Zatara, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that translates well in comics because now you can, you know, readers have to like slow down and read it backwards and be like, oh, what was the spell she cast?
Yeah.
And then you can show it. Like, I think that's a really dynamic way of playing with that too, which is probably makes reading her more fun too. I would think.
I think so as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's a definitive answer to that, but those are my best guesses.
That's a fair guess though.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's head over to Twitter.
Twitter.
You okay?
I always get so stuck.
You just want to keep finally it worked. First question from Grant Richter.
Wow, he's just gone back to Grant?
That's what it says.
My God, he's found his true form.
Oh my God. Finally, he's evolved.
He's back. I thought it was like the Durlin thing where he forgot like what his original form was.
You're a Durlin.
You're a Durlin.
Well, Grant says, what are the limits of Zatanna's power? Could she literally make anything happen just by saying it backwards? Are her limits subconsciously self-imposed? Is there a threshold of magic that she can channel? Or is it just writer's discretion?
Well, I mean, ultimately, everything is writer's discretion, so let's put that one aside for now. I have to be careful how I phrase this, because I don't... magic is, in a way, kind of limitless, in that magic can do basically anything. But that doesn't mean that every magic user has access or the ability to process enough magic to make anything happen. Zatanna is on the powerful end of magic users. Mm-hmm. I think it's fair to say up there with, like a Madame Xanadu, Dr. Fate, kind of in that caliber of magician. And she both can harness magic she's learned, as well as being part of that race of Homo Magi means that she is just like inherently, like genetically more, she's able to use magic better.
Yeah.
So she can already process and utilize a vast amount of magic. But the thing with magic ultimately is that magic is about balance. It's about cost and consequence. And anyone that has ever read like Hellblazer, any sort of John Constantine comic knows that comic leans very heavily on the idea of consequence for magic. John is always basically going from con to con because he's constantly trying to win the balance back in his favor. He uses too much magic for the wrong purposes or whatever, and he's constantly having to play catch up. So again, these are things that aren't necessarily always explicitly said, but the evidence in comics is that to use more magic requires more sacrifice.
Yeah.
So in the case of the Enchantress, to use more magic means that she loses herself to the Enchantress. June Moon becomes like subsumed by the Enchantress. She turns evil and can't control herself the more magic she uses. I think for Zatanna, if the story needed her to, and if she needed to, I think she could accomplish... I won't say anything, but she's extremely, I think, about as powerful as you can get without specifically being gifted magic by gods.
Oh, wow.
Like Dr. Fate gets his power from the Lords of Order. I think Dr. Fate would edge Zatanna out that way. But only just. She's extremely powerful. But then what's the consequence? What's the cost? What does she have to give up of herself? Does it weaken her physically? Does it weaken her mentally? Is she, is she sacrificing her soul? Like, what does that mean? And I think story-wise, there would be some sort of element of that to it. So maybe technically, yeah, she could probably, if she had to, release enough magic to like move a world or something like that. But I'd be scared of what that would cost her.
Totally.
So there's a difference then too between like technically what you're able to do and then what you're actually able to do. The way I think of magic is almost the same way as, like in those like emergency situations when the adrenaline kicks in and people can lift a car off their kid or whatever, like your body sort of suppresses the pain receptors, floods you with adrenaline, and you get this like surge of strength. You can actually like lift a car. But that the consequence of that is that when that adrenaline's gone and that, you're still tearing all of your muscles.
Yeah.
You don't actually become stronger. You're just pushing through it, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So I think magic works the same way. She could enhance her abilities or the scale of them, but then once that moment has passed, she'll have to deal with whatever that's done to her.
Let's go to the next question from Raz My Berries. Raz My Berries reviews.
Nice.
Raz asks, I would love to know her history / origin up to what she is doing now. Also, what was her greatest feat / accomplishment as a character, and what's the deal with her relationship with Batman? How did that start?
So, a few different things in there.
Yeah. Hey, tell me everything, I think is what he's asking.
That's the umbrella question, yeah. So, her origin. I've talked about her father on this podcast before, very briefly. Giovanni.
Martin!
Why did you say that name? No, her dad's name is Giovanni Zatanna, or John Zatanna. Zatanna, the magician, first appeared in Action Comics #1. He was a different story in that comic book.
I'm just going to say that Giovanni Zatanna sounds like he'd make a mean pizza.
I bet he would. And magically.
Yeah. They're magically delicious.
Got the mozzarella.
You sound like Gabriel.
He's from Long Island. He showed up in Action Comics #1. He was a different story in there. And Zatanna the Magician was like a running series for a bit in that anthology book. And so he's a character that's been around since 1938.
Yeah.
Zatanna comes into comics in the 60s or something like that. And she's the daughter of Zatanna. And so she learns magic from him, both stage and actual. But she also, her mother is, her name is Cindella, and she's the one who's part of that race of Homo Magi, like the actual, like, genetically magical people of the DCU. And that lineage traces all the way back to Arion, like the first king of Atlantis.
Ooh.
No, it's like Arion, not Arion. No.
Oh, okay.
As soon as I said it. Or it could be like Orion, I guess, but not Orion.
Oh, yes, we like the RI in the race.
No. So at any rate, Zatanna basically gets magic from both sides. So she, it's retconned later that she knows Bruce from childhood because Thomas and Martha Wayne like knew Zatanna and, would hire him to do shows for charity and stuff like that. It's retconned as part of that sort of story that when Bruce is going around the world training in different disciplines, he goes to Zatanna to learn like escapology.
Oh.
Like to help him get out of, cuffs and stuff like that he learns that from Zatanna.
Magician never reveals their secrets.
I think the real secret is that he's magic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Zatanna she joins the Justice League. She's a member of the Justice League for quite some time, and she's the one that basically saves the day when whatever they were called, the Injustice League or the Secret Society, switched bodies with the Justice League. Mm-hmm. She went in and like wiped their memories of who they were and things like that.
Wow.
That is a story from like the 60s or 70s that becomes the basis of Identity Crisis later. Because what you learn is not only was she erasing the memories of who the heroes were, she was actually like tampering with some of their minds to try and make them, like in the case of Dr. Light, to make him less violent, more benign. Like she was using her magic basically to like change who they were. And that was a thing voted on by some members of the Justice League. And she did it like because they said to. And in the context of that story, Batman discovers that's what's happening, and then she has to do it to him.
Yeah.
She removes his memory of that, and that's what fractures their relationship, breaks their trust, is that Batman can't even trust his own memory anymore, his own senses, because he's been magically altered. So she's done all of that. She's been a member of and leader of the Justice League Dark, which is like the magic Justice League. Mm-hmm. She has a relationship history with John Constantine. They're a thing. And then to bring her father back into it, in that story I talked about that culminates in, I think, Swamp Thing 50 in 1985 or 6 or whatever year that was. They're fighting off this thing called the Great Darkness. It's all these sorcerers in a circle, and the Great Darkness fights back, destroys Sargon the Sorcerer, and then they're still all connected, right, in this ritual or whatever. The Great Darkness goes to attack Zatanna. Zatanna casts a spell so that he takes the damage, and he's like incinerated and destroyed. And even though they beat the Great Darkness, Zatanna then blames Constantine for her father's death, for putting them in that position and all that kind of stuff. Zatanna, I think, spent some time in hell, which is pretty fucked up.
Yeah, what the hell?
So Zatanna, for a little bit, is kind of like haunted by things with her father.
Martin.
As for the thing with Batman, they don't really have too much of a relationship up until like a official relationship or anything like that, up until some later retcons and stories that hint at a bit more. So in Identity Crisis, you know that they know each other and how betrayed Bruce is, but there's also a story in Detective Comics where We get the retcon that they kind of grew up together a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And in that one, they're working on a case, and this is post-identity crisis, and Bruce is learning how to trust her again. And there's they kind of come out and talk about it, like, why aren't we a thing? Should we be a thing? Blah blah
Really?
blah. And Bruce basically he does the old like I'm Batman. I want to let you in, but I can't kind of shit. And she goes, well, I deserve better than that, but you know, I'm always around. And kind of and leaves. Like she is very mature about it and knows that she deserves better than what Bruce can offer her. And then actually in the immediate aftermath of that, Catwoman returns from a prison planet, and there's some sort of interaction where she's like, oh, I hear that like you and Zatanna or whatever. And she's like, I guess Zatanna has a good like ring to it. And she gets like super jealous about it.
Really?
She, like really kind of like snippy with Bruce about whatever his feelings for Zatanna are. So there is now officially some comic book history that there's some sort of history between them, but it's never been an official relationship. They've never dated. They've never hooked up or anything like that. It's always been like a, won't they? You know, like if you had like a childhood sweetheart, but you never went on a date or anything like that. It's like that kind of thing. It never went anywhere.
Yeah. Oh, that teacher.
Oh, the other part of no. The other part of that question was, what was her greatest feat or accomplishment? And people are going to get very mad at me, but I'd say her greatest accomplishment was probably all those fucking mind wipes.
Really?
I mean, it's very like skilled, precise use of magic, but it's also like a very, very deep deception. And I say greatest in terms of like, it's probably one of her biggest or most impactful accomplishments.
Yeah.
Not
Doing that to the
necessarily
Justice
like
League, yeah.
great, like good or bad,
Yeah.
but great in terms of magnitude. And I think all of that stuff that's revealed in Identity Crisis and Crisis of Conscience and sort of the story going forward from there, I think that's probably the biggest feat, the biggest accomplishment she had is just, or rather the biggest impact that she had in DC.
Definitely. All right, let's go to our old friend Puff Cheek Pastries.
Puff!
Puff asks,
you made a song for Puff the one time.
Did I?
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was?
Wait, hang on. It's like, Puff Cheek Pastries makes lots of food. Lots of things I'd like to eat. I wish I could cook.
Oh, yeah.
And I was so upset because you weren't originally going to keep singing, and I made you, and you made it rhyme and everything. I was so upset that you pulled it off. You stuck the landing. I was like, fuck.
When I take my time and really, Puff Cheek Pastries.
You really like Jazz Batman.
I really do. It's going to be in my head all night now.
You're welcome.
Puff says, what is the origin of her spells being spoken backwards? Which is a great question. Whether in real life or comic origins. Well, I don't know if there's in real life. Oh, I guess if the writers. But, yeah.
From a publisher.
Also, did Smallville do the character justice? No.
I mean, no, in so much as Smallville did very few characters justice.
Yeah, did Superman justice.
But on the sliding scale of how Smallville did, Zatanna probably comes out of that relatively unscathed.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
on the Smallville scale, Zatanna at least looks like her character, kind of acts like her character, and does magic by speaking backwards.
I mean, like she's no Aquaman, but
oh, that guy's playing Hawk in Titans.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He's Hawk and Dove.
I honestly, for me, I just think that her portrayal in it was forgettable.
Oh yeah, but that's not that actor's fault. I don't think. I think that like they didn't give that character anything to do.
No, it's true. It was more of like, huh?
I think look. It was more just like, oh, we looked at a comic book. Yeah, like I said, on the sliding scale of how Smallville did with characters, I actually think Zatanna is probably one of the ones that comes out pretty well. As for the backwards incantations, I think that's always been a part of Zatanna's character. As far as like a story reason for it. She doesn't expressly have to speak to cast magic. There are some very simple spells she could do without speaking.
Oh, so it's like Harry Potter.
It's that idea of like a focal point, right? So in Harry Potter, in the Western wizarding world, wands are used as a focal point, but we know that goblins and house elves and even wizards from other countries, like in different wizarding practices,
Don't
from
use
Japan
wands.
or from Africa, don't use wands.
Yeah.
It's the same. That's a principle. I don't know if it's lifted from comics or not, but it's the same idea that Zatanna's backwards speaking forces her to focus, to channel all of her energy into a specific incantation to get to summon what she needs or create what she wants or whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes she can write things backwards and that will work. She can also use like runes, or she's used her own blood. Like in one case,
Whoa.
She had been shot through the neck, so she couldn't speak, and she was being drowned, and she used her blood to like make like a healing like rune. So she can use other forms of magic. She can tap into other things, and she can even access her own magic without specifically speaking. But in general, she uses that sort of backwards speak to cast spells.
Yeah.
I think that's always been a part of her character. I don't think it's like with Etrigan, how he wasn't always a rhyming demon. I think that's always been part of Zatanna's thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
Also correct if we're wrong, but I mean, we're not going to acknowledge it.
well, yeah, we've talked about that. Yeah. There will be no corrections segment.
No. All right, let's go on to Dave Rossi, our old friend Dave.
Dash, I'll turn off the podcast.
Please, God, turn off the podcast. So many episodes ago.
Turn it on for the jazz, though.
Oh, yeah, Dashel.
Am I blue? Am I blue?
Are you named after a DC character?
No.
Dashel?
What's Dashel?
I thought it was...
Are you thinking of Dash from The Incredibles?
Yeah, Incredibles. Richard is wrong.
You fucking idiot.
Dash
will turn off the podcast. It's about to get salty.
He's so fucking dumb.
Am I blue? I'm so blue. Oh, these tears in my eyes.
I'm so blue.
Jazzy Phil Seymour Hoffman.
I know you're sleepy.
I don't like where this is going. Let's move on.
You've had a long day. Don't leave me this way.
I don't even know what's happening right now.
Blue balls. That's what I was going for.
That's fucked up.
Dave says, is she more powerful than Dr. Fate? It seems his powers are all ancient Egyptian-based spells where she can do anything she can say.
I've gone back and forth on this on the podcast.
I know.
I am tempted to say that Dr. Fate is technically more powerful than her. But, like I said, for a character that does not get her magic from gods or from another realm or from anything like that, I think she's about as powerful as a magic user can be. The thing with Dr. Fate is that you get like someone with like a magical sensitivity, like Kent Nelson or something, but it's Naboo and the helmet, all in the vessel of that host. Like there's a lot of things that work for Dr. Fate. Zatanna is just a person using magic. I'd say she's more powerful than Constantine. I think she's if there are characters magically more powerful than her, they're either the ones in service of God, like the Spectre and the Phantom Stranger, and like possibly Zoriel. But I think even Zoriel's probably not as powerful as Zatanna. Or they're characters that get their powers from another realm, like Dr. Fate or something like that. I think Zatanna's probably more powerful than Madame Xanadu, who is also extremely...
Xanadu.
Nice.
Xanadu.
I think if you were to get the baseball cards or like the stats, Dr. Fate would appear the stronger magician. But I think in practice, in a fight, I might give it to Zatanna.
I think we need a Yu-Gi-Oh battle to solve this.
Sure. That seems
Yeah, I just seems like the right way to go about it.
Sure.
Yeah. We got a question from Talking Superman. Why does she have a fear of puppets?
Right. So in that story I was talking about where she and Bruce is learning to trust her again, part of what they do is they stop the second ventriloquist, Peyton Riley.
Yeah.
And Zatanna mentions how she's creeped out by puppets, and then she says it's a long story, I'll tell you sometime. I think it actually does come up in one of her solo series. I might get this slightly wrong, but I think the idea is that it's a repressed memory from her childhood, like a blocked out memory, that it's like her birthday or something like that, and some guy, I can't remember his name, like shows up with a knife or something, and her dad, Zatara, turns him into a puppet.
Whoa.
And it's like, and she's buried that sort of traumatic memory, and puppets creep her out and things like that. So
Scarface is not something she wants to.
No, but I think in the context of that story, whoever that puppet was, either stops being a puppet or as a puppet comes after her as an adult.
Really?
It's like it's all tied together, right? But I'm pretty sure that's the reason that she's afraid of puppets, is that it's like a childhood memory because Zatara turned like a murderer into a puppet.
Yeah.
Which is pretty fucked up if you're like 6.
Yeah.
And you see that happen, even if your world is magical. I think that would be traumatic.
That's super fucked up.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I can't remember. I think I'm positive that's in one of Zatanna's solo series that is in there.
I'm going to admit, puppet's going to creep me out too.
What about like Slappy from Goosebumps?
That was terrifying.
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah,
Slappy?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's largely what I'm thinking about.
Right.
Yeah, scared the shit out of me.
What if I just move my mouth like this? Like,
not as creepy.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
if I drew the lines, do you think that would help? Oh, you wouldn't see them with the beard. But
no, I think like you as a person is creepy enough. I don't need to add things to that.
That's fucking hurtful, man.
Well, that's why I said it. I wasn't trying to be nice.
If you keep treating people this way, you'll just be alone.
That's the idea. Create the podcast, get the fans, and then kick out the town.
Soundboard the talent, and then
yeah, exactly.
It basically makes itself.
Yeah. I've got enough information that I can just be like, so Doom Patrol, and then just like press a button.
Yeah, it'd just be like different words from different episodes. Like, I think comics are pretty great.
Yeah, that's the idea. I remember when I was a kid and like I must have been like 7 or 8. I was babysitting my little brother at my dad's place. Like him and his girlfriend at the time went out for dinner or something, and I was left alone. Me and my little brother, and the girl he was dating had a baby, and the baby was in like the baby's room or whatever. And I remember literally like just sitting there watching TV at like late at night, and then suddenly I just hear the little like Tickle Me Elmo start going off.
Oh no! Do you know what creeped me out was Furby?
Ooh.
Furbies creeped me out because they wouldn't die.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like it's literally what the Funzo episode of The Simpsons is about.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, yeah, puppets scare me. With that, Dr. DC podcast will be back after this quick break.
This episode of the Dr. DC podcast is brought to you thanks to our sponsor, Great Lakes Grooming Co. They sent us some products to try, and they are amazing. Personal favorites here in the Jazz Bat Cave are beard oil. This comes in different scents. Like your love, Trusty Woods, Clear Creek Coffee. You can apply some after a shower. It'll nourish your beard. Use that hand relic boar bristle brush to spread it evenly through the beard and stimulate skin underneath.
Stimulated.
Once you do that, why don't you apply some of that beard balm? They have the same, different scents. Your love, trusty ones, Clear Creek coffee made from beeswax and lanolin. Protects your beard from nature's harsh extremes, like wind, sun, snow, and rain.
Going through to give you pain.
Great Lakes Grooming is meant to be easy and ready to use rain or shine. All their products are purposefully designed and environmentally responsible. They're handmade in Canada, ready for adventure wherever one may find themselves. And for you lucky listeners, you can get 10% off on Great Lakes Grooming's regular price products by going to www.greatlakesgrooming.com and using the promo code Dr. DC Podcast. That's www.greatlakesgrooming.com, promo code DRDC Podcast. And now, on to the show. Yeah!
That was exactly what I wanted it to be. Oh, I'm not going to be able to find something to go to that because you did your own beat, so I'm going to have to do it myself.
I'm sorry.
Now I have to play piano for you.
Am I blue? I love that I introduced you to that.
What's that smell? Is it poo? Uh-oh. All right, now we're back. Hey. Heading on to, we're going to Instagram now.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
Yeah. I like that we don't need to do the hands.
We just do them.
Yeah, we just.
I don't think I could do the sound without that.
Did you hear did you listen to the Great Lakes? I don't know why. I was recording it and literally my hands started going like this. Literally shooting in front of me like I was flying, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm literally alone in the studio doing that.
Oh, that's really funny.
All right. Well, we got a question from the real Josh Gill.
Gill.
Oh, you fucking sexy little Josh Gill.
Jesus.
Oh, yeah. You like it, don't you, Josh Gill?
I feel uncomfortable for him.
He likes it. Look at the way
says you.
Look at the way he's wearing those glasses.
Sorry? What's he doing?
He's asking for it.
Jesus.
Josh says, how skilled of a combatant is she outside of magic? Are there any good examples of stories where she has to rely on non-magical abilities?
In that Batman story that I keep coming back to, Batman does say that he doesn't want her to use magic, and this is partly because he doesn't trust her. So he said, if you're going to come with me on this, you're in Gotham, this is my city, my rules, don't use magic, I don't want it near me.
Yeah. And
that ultimately puts her in, like, mortal danger. But she does comply. She does have some, like, hand-to-hand combat ability. I think she actually learns it from her father. I think she learns it from Zatanna.
Oh, really?
That he teaches her how to fight and stuff like that. I would not in any way rank Zatanna among the best fighters.
No, but she can defend herself if necessary.
Yeah, but she can punch and kick and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm trying to think of like another character who maybe would have like on par hand-to-hand ability.
Yeah.
She's probably better than Booster Gold. She's probably a better fighter than... Yeah, I don't know specifically like what characters I'd sort of rank her with, but she can hold her own. But I mean, definitely without magic, she's at a severe disadvantage. She is not like the strongest fighter in DC or anything like that, right? So, or the best strategist or anything like that. Like magic is her advantage. Yeah, I don't know that there are too many other stories where she like specifically can't use magic and has to,
Which you would think that would be like
kick and something like that.
For someone who's powerful as her, that's like you would constantly be trying to put her in that position. But
maybe, but again, I think the thing that makes her interesting is just like that she could do so much with magic. If you're constantly writing stories where she can't use it, I think you're losing something interesting about that character.
I guess that's true.
So, yeah, I mean, she like I said, she can fight. She's certainly not the best. I wouldn't put my money on her over a lot of people, basically.
Yeah. Well, we got another question from Josh. Says Zatanna is often referred to as one of, if not the most powerful magic user in the DCU. How does she stack up against Dr. Fate, Tim Hunter, and Clarion?
So we talked about Dr. Fate already. Tim Hunter is kind of a weird one. This is a character that kind of inherits this type of magic called the Merlin,
Ooh.
which is technically related to Merlin of Arthurian legend.
Yeah.
Because I think he was the last most powerful user of this particular type of magic or something like that.
Yeah.
That's why it's called the Merlin. But I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about him. I know there was a bit where there was like a potential future version of him called Sir Timothy Hunter that had shown up. But I think in general, because he accesses this particular type of magic, he's meant to be pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Clarion, for those who watch Young Justice, in that version, Clarion the Witch Boy is a Lord of Chaos. That's not how he is in the comics. He's part of this like magical race that's somehow tied to like sort of colonial era America, like Roanoke, Virginia kind of thing. But the one in the comics is a bit more neutral. He's not straight up evil. He's not a Lord of Chaos, but he's this sort of like neutral, could be good, could be bad, depending on the day kind of character. He often butts heads with Etrigan the Demon. I think that's where he first showed up, was facing the demon.
Yeah.
Which basically made him like the antagonist. I think he's often an antagonist. But Clarion the Witch Boy, I would say, is pretty darn powerful. I still think Zatanna could probably beat him.
Really?
I think so. I don't know enough about Tim Hunter to be too definitive, but I just based on everything that I've said and comic books and things like that, I would just say Zatanna could probably beat Tim Hunter and Clarion, and we've already talked about Dr. Fate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's head over to Reddit then, where everything's good. No one's ever mean.
And where we have a subreddit.
Yeah. Hell yeah. We'll talk more about that later. So first, the only question and the last question comes from the creator of this subreddit, the ex-doctor.
That's right. He used to be a doctor. He left in disgrace.
Maybe
started our subreddit.
Maybe it's actually you from the future where you are a disgraced doctor.
I say something like terribly wrong on here, like some sort of shit like Dr. Fate can beat Zatanna, and then it all goes to shit from there.
It's weird. The podcast just stopped recording and my computer just exploded.
You're so calm.
Oh my god, what's that portal in this?
Sound effects.
Oh, fuck that. I'm not doing any more of that. I got a full-time job and a lot of other stuff going on.
Well, you don't start till tomorrow. Do it now.
Oh, okay. Live. Oh yeah, because we knows how much everybody loved all the sound effects I used to put on.
I kind of miss it.
Yeah. Is that you trying to make sound effects?
No, I'm just fiddling.
All right, let's see what the ex-doctor has to say. They say, do you think that Zatanna could exist as she is now if her father was still alive? What would change or never happen if Zatara was still alive?
Right. So when she first joined the Justice League, she was like searching for Zatara. Zatara was missing. He was being held captive or something like that. He was sort of like in a, I can't remember if it was like extra dimensional kind of realm or something like that. So basically when Zatanna came on the scene, it was about that relationship with her father where he wasn't there and she wanted to help him or find him or whatever. And then they were together for a bit and then he died. And then it actually kind of restored, in a way, that relationship. You know, I actually think that, yeah, I think it's different than something like, you know, in Flashpoint or Flash Rebirth where Barry's mom got killed. That was new. When Zatara died, it was actually kind of returning an old dynamic. And like I said at the top, I think a thing that makes Zatanna interesting and fun to read and dynamic as a character is that she has lived through tragedy multiple times, but she is not consumed by it. She's very much like a Dick Grayson in that way. And so yeah, Zatanna died. It's definitely defined her relationship with John Constantine, which was already kind of like tumultuous, but now she, can blame him for that. It's definitely defined that. And yeah, I mean, it's affected her, but I actually don't think it's quite as formative a thing as maybe comics would or people might want to believe. I actually think Zatanna she's more of a whole character than Batman, right? I don't see her as broken or things like that. So yeah, maybe it affects her relationship with Constantine negatively longer than that relationship would have been negative anyway. But I think in general, like who she is, her outlook, her perspective, the way she uses magic, all of that kind of stuff. I don't think she's the kind of character that's that defined by it. Even Barry, I mean, God, like since Barry's mom was killed, he's been such like a mopey ass bitch in the comics. Like Barry used to be so sunshiny, and he's all angst now, and that's a thing that people really don't like about the Flash comics right now. And if I'm being honest, I'm kind of tired of it. I still like the Flash. I like reading the comics and that, but we get it. Like, your mom's dead, man. And not that shouldn't be a formative thing for him, but we already have a prominent character who dwells on that shit. Right?
Yeah. And
then we already have another prominent character who has like two sets of parents who can die and deals with that very happily, which is Superman. Do we need the Flash to be like, oh, my mom, I can't change the past because when I did it last time, I fucked everything up. Ugh. Do we need a Barry like that? I don't think so. And Barry in the comics recently he puts up all these walls with his allies. He keeps lying to people because he thinks it's protecting them or whatever. Like, Barry is a real shithead right now in the comics, to be perfectly honest. I think it's refreshing that Zatanna isn't. I think a thing that makes Zatanna special is that something that big, that defining, or that tragic, like the death of her father, especially in such like a violent, kind of brutal way.
Yeah.
Of course it affected her, made her angry and sad and affected relationships and things like that. But she moved on. She lives, she has a life. Barry, like, still doesn't really. Batman obviously doesn't, I think it's nice that Zatanna does. So because of her ability to do that, to move on and that sort of thing, I actually don't think it would, I don't think Zatanna surviving would change too much.
Really? Yeah.
I think she would still strike out on her own and find her own way. And like she had to do anyway. She's not a sad, mopey character. I think she'd be okay. I don't think we'd be losing anything if Zatanna had stayed alive, because she'd be okay anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that was the last question. Now on to this week's Dial Doc.
Oh, fuck. Do you have one?
I do.
All right. Let's have it.
So I thought of this a few minutes ago. Character's name is Frequency.
Okay. Oh God, I wonder if ours are super similar. Okay.
I doubt it.
Okay.
So this character is a villain.
Right.
And the hero that it's a villain to is Aquaman.
You've assigned a specific rivalry.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay,
so the story is that this character, Tim Wency.
Oh God.
Yep. Was at an aquarium with his family.
Okay.
And a satellite suddenly like crashes into the aquarium.
Sure.
And Aquaman shows up and saves all of the animals.
But not him.
And his family dies, and he gets
Aquaman fucked up.
Gets electrocuted by this satellite, and ends up getting the abilities of like microwaves.
Okay.
So he can control sort of all the frequencies of microwaves, including like he can like obviously like very easily hurt people because he can actually shake the water molecules in their bodies and like blow them up.
Right.
So he has a vendetta against Aquaman because he thought he would be safe with him, and then literally saw him save an animal before.
See, now that's interesting that you've gone so deep on the backstory, because I think that's one thing that doesn't necessarily happen with the H-Dial. It would be interesting if when you became that character, you saw a bit more of like, what is that fictional character's history? What are their memories?
Yeah.
And shit like that. That's interesting to me.
And so, and like he has the ability, because he can control like so strongly that he can control satellites and stuff. Like he can like control people's like GPS and like, but
so can he control the entire like EM spectrum? Like from gamma all the way.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
So.
That's frequency. Tim Wency. Fuck you. Okay, so mine is called Morse Toad.
Okay.
So Morse Toad.
Morse Toad in the time.
Morse Toad is a human, but has this sort of like kind of slimy, kind of bumpy skin, like looks very toad-like, and has the ability to sort of like inflate his like diaphragm to make these deep like ribbit sounds. But what they can do is he can use them kind of like black canaries' canary cry, or he can also use them to communicate in any language.
Whoa.
And understand in any language.
Ooh.
So Morse Toad can ribbit, and it's understood by everyone, and it also allows him to understand.
So hero or villain?
I think hero. I think that's a benign enough power that it's not helpful to be a villain. You know what I mean? Like that's yeah. I think that's a hero power. In general, I think I try to come up with heroes.
Yeah,
for the most part. Although I did say that Roy G. Buff would be a good agent of the enemy. Yeah. Because he could sell the milk.
How accurate is that you always go for heroes and not like the villains?
Yeah, it's telling. Yeah, so that's Morse Toad. I have a bit of Fun Dial H news.
Oh, yes, that's right. I saw you tweet out about that.
Well, Bendis tweeted out that there's, I think it's in Action Comics 1005 or whatever, that the H-Dial showing up in Action Comics. We haven't seen the H-Dial since that New 52 Dial H series,
which was like back in.
And Bendis is bringing it into Action Comics.
Is it the 90s?
Oh God, no! It was like 2013.
Oh God, yeah, okay, yeah, not that long ago.
But yeah, it's coming back.
It's been a few years, yeah.
It's been a while, and it's so like elusive and weird. It's kind of interesting to put it in such like a main title, like Action Comics, and in there with Superman. I don't know if like Jimmy Olsen's gonna start using it, you know, because there's a whole thing in the Silver Age where Jimmy would like get a weird power or turn into a turtle monster or whatever like weird shit would happen in the 60s. If Bendis is at all trying to capture the Silver Age, it might be interesting if like Jimmy started using the H-Dial.
That's really awesome.
I'd be kind of into that.
That's so cool. Yeah.
What I'm most curious about though is if we get any sort of hint or reference to Nelson Gent, even if it's just like something like the last user of this thing.
Oh yeah.
Like, or are we, because the H-Dial does kind of have a history of referencing past users.
Yeah.
I like to imply its lineage. I'd be interested in that. But yeah, I mean, the fact that, you know, we've been talking about it so much lately, and then for it to show up in Action Comics, I kind of feel like we're owed royalties.
Yeah, I think that it's because of us.
DC execs.
We know you're always listening.
Cut us our checks.
Motherfucker.
I made that rhyme.
I want Perry White to get access.
Perry White.
He's not blue.
Use the dial and you'll turn into poo.
Oh, it's genius.
That's my hero for next week. Shit stain.
What's that smell?
Shit stain.
So we'd love to hear your guys' characters you guys can come up with, residents. We've gotten a few, but I definitely want to see some more.
Oh yeah. Or if you are good at sketching
or if you're bad at sketching.
Or if you're bad at sketching, I would love to see artist renderings of some of the ones that have been come up with.
Absolutely. Or make up one of your own and send it in. We definitely want to see that stuff. Absolutely.
I feel like we're building up to a coffee table book of the shitty characters we've created.
Oh God. Okay, on the down low, if any of you guys are actually really, really good artists and you want to talk to us about them, definitely happen. All you have to do is just tweet at us using the hashtag DialDoc. And send us your idea for hero or villain. Send us. You can also send us just a question. You can just nerd out with us online.
Totally.
Or agree with the doctor's social justice tweets occasionally.
Well, yeah.
I do like that's a platform for you.
Do you know what I like love is lately there have been a couple of these things where like that diversity in comics asshole where his Twitter account was about how diversity in comics is bad.
Yes.
And how him and like some of these other like comics gators have been like, I can't believe people are being so mean to us. All these comic creators that we like respect are being mean to us after they've spent like years like calling female creators like cum dumpsters and like horrible shit like that. They're like, oh no, but like now they're mean to us. Fucking crybabies, you assholes. That's what you fucking get.
What did you see?
Sorry, getting too angry at the end of the episode here, but like really, if you're a comics gator, get fucked.
What did you see? Like Jeff Lemire coming out again, like denouncing comics.
Jeff Lemire, Bill Sienkiewicz, Jerry Conway, like a bunch of like Neil Gaiman, all of these people who are coming out and just being like, you're misinformed, misled, racist bigots, basically, which is amazing. Keep calling them out. Make them cry.
Absolutely. Make them cry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not...
Tell them the doc sent you.
I guess I'm technically condoning some form of bullying, but they're dicks, so who gives a shit?
Yeah, I feel like that condones aggression and violence.
I'm not condoning violence. You don't have to punch them, but make them feel bad.
Yeah, whether that's physically or emotional.
If they feel, make them feel terrible. They've been shitty. They're bad people.
If you want to show us the proof of you making people feel terrible.
No, don't do that. I don't need that. I'll see it. Don't worry. I'm always watching.
Okay, well, talk to us online through the various online media platforms.
And I finally finished Star Trek Discovery, so if you want to talk to me about that, hit me up. I have
a lot of thoughts.
So many thoughts.
God. If you want to
hit me up.
If you want to talk Trek, you can do so through our Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast,
our Twitter
at Dr. DC.
Hit us on the gram,
Dr. DC Podcast.
You can go to our email,
drdcpodcast@gmail.com.
We got a subreddit now.
Yep. r/Dr_DC.
We've been posting. We've been calling out for questions there. I think there's some discussions going on. We definitely want to see you guys talk on there. If you want to, I know that we talk a lot on Twitter, but to be able to have longer sort of longer conversations, Reddit's probably a good place to do that. So
exactly.
Definitely go on there and do that. And not only you can talk to us, but you can also read some of our DC specific articles or review like our many wares on our website.
Merch. drdcpodcast.com or .ca. It's all up there.
We got lots of merch on there. I think we might be changing stores at some point in the next few weeks, but otherwise you'll always be able to find it through our website. And I think we're going to be making some changes on some of the graphics and things like that. So get the stuff that we've got up there now while it's still good before we change things.
Yeah, let's do it.
And don't forget to subscribe to us. Getting that weekly subscribe actually really helps us out. And if you're listening every week, you're not checking what the episode is. Just listen. Subscribe.
Do you ever just like play that game with your friend's phone where you have to make a text like on their phone or you swipe their Tinder or whatever? Just take a quick little like
subscribe,
jaunt over to the App Store or to their podcast app and just subscribe to us. They'll be like, oh, what's this? I don't remember doing this. And then they'll give us a listen. They'll fall in love with our witty banter, and our intelligent commentary, the characters we come up with, like shit stain. and they won't be mad that you subscribe.
They'll appreciate you. Your friendship will grow stronger.
Am I advocating for invasion of privacy?
Well, you've already advocated for like bullying, so I think it's fine.
Fair.
If they're a really shitty friend, give us a review from them.
If they're a comics gator, don't make them subscribe.
No, I don't want them.
But otherwise, yeah.
Downloads are important, but not that important.
If they're good people, I'm all for it.
But yeah, you can also rate, review us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review. Write something down like my wife did, and I'll read it on the episode.
My wife hasn't.
Yeah, what the hell?
Apparently, she's like 7 episodes behind. She's only been looking after our baby by herself for 2 weeks.
As if that's an excuse.
She's on vacation. It's not that I'm just not doing anything. I made myself sound so shitty there.
She's been taking care of our baby while I have to sit around and try to read comics.
I've been going out and getting hammered with the boys, and she won't even listen to my podcast.
You know how hard I work for this film.
Brenda, I love you.
She's not listening anyways.
For real, though, when you catch up to this, write a review. I think this has been long enough.
Oh, well, that was a good one.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you guys next week.
Yeah. Adios.
Ciao, ciao.
Is that your new sign off?
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
All the superheroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure.